Hello, welcome to Tobisonics. It is Tuesday, the 18th of May, 2021. I hope you all had great weekends and the weeks have started well for you. In this week's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Baby Audio's Spaced Out plugin. When I demo a plugin like Spaced Out, there are a couple of things that I'm trying to find out. The first thing is, what practical difference does it make to have all of that multitude of effects bundled into one plugin? What is it actually going to give my productions that's going to improve the kind of emotional musical experience for the listener? And in order to find out, we're going to break open the production for my new single, All the Little Things. We get into it. Let's take a quick look at the Baby Audio website. Spaced Out is described as a lush, wet effects generator, built for sending your sounds and vocals into weightless, heavenly orbit. It combines a crystalline reverb engine with a wealth of modulation options and a 16-step delay sequencer. In total, more than 50 individual effects come together in a singular creative experience with endless outcomes and zero submenus. If I could just ask you to like this video and subscribe to my channel, that would really help me out. Thank you for taking the time. All right, let's start things off with the funk guitar in the pre-chorus. And the reason I want to start it here is because it was tricky to get the reverb to sit with the guitar the way that I wanted it to. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Spaced Out would give us a better option. All right, then let's take a look at what we're doing with the Spaced Out. So we're starting with a preset, Guitar Island, and then I've tweaked it from there. On one side of the plugin, we have echoes, and on the other side, we have space. And the balance between those two is controlled by this central panel. So if I go all the way over here, we get 100% echoes and no space. All the way over here, 100% space, no echoes. And then the wet dry mix is controlled like this. So now we're down at the bottom, we got 100% dry, we go to the top, we're 100% wet. Now because we're on an effects or an auxiliary channel, we want it to be 100% wet. And then I've blended it this way quite a bit because I want more echoes than I do reverb. I want to keep things pretty dry. One thing that catches my eye straight away that I really like is this ducker. I like the fact that this is built into the plugin. Now, because we're sat on an auxiliary channel or an effects channel, we're going to be blending it pretty low. So before we do the side-by-side comparison, let's just have a quick listen to it at 0 dB so you guys can hear what it sounds like. All right then, let's do a side-by-side comparison. So we're going to start off with just the dry guitar. We'll do one rep like that, and then I'm going to unmute the production reverb. We'll do one rep like that, and then I'm going to mute the production reverb and unmute the Spaced Out. So you guys can make a side-by-side comparison as to what the Spaced Out is doing for us that we're not getting from that reverb. For me, it's kind of a 50-50 deal for me. On one hand, I like the sense of size that the production reverb is giving the guitar. On the other hand, the Spaced Out does sound tighter to me. I like that drier feel. I like the fact that you've got that little bit of a delay there. You've got that little bit of movement in the delay that comes after the hit. So you get that little bit of tail on the delay. But at the same time, it's kind of messing up how clean the guitar is. All right then, let's try the Spaced Out on some percussion. And here we go, we've got the percussion from the breakdown. Right now you're listening to just the dry percussion track, no reverb, nothing else. All right then, let's have a look at what we're doing. So once again, we're starting off with a preset, Percussion Rhythmizer. And again, I've tweaked it, well, a fair bit, to be honest. I thought that I was going to be using a little bit more reverb here, so I spent a bit of time tweaking the reverb settings, and then came over here and promptly blended the reverb out completely. So that was time well spent. And we're using ourselves a slightly different texture. The preset was set on lo-fi. I switched it over to hazy. I really like what it's doing for this percussion. It's giving this kind of dusty kind of feel, really very cool. And I changed this setting from motion to ultra wide dial back some of the sustain, dial back a little bit of the feedback. I like how that's all on one control. Sustain like so, and feedback like so. Before we do the side-by-side comparison, let's have a quick listen to the spaced out at 0 dB. Right, let's run a side-by-side comparison, and like we did before, we're going to start off with just the dry percussion track. Then I'll drop in the production reverb, and then I'll mute the production reverb and bring in the spaced out. Right away, I've got to say, I prefer what the spaced out is doing for us there. It is much cleaner. It's much punchier. It's giving us depth. It's giving us width. That is doing a very cool job for us right there. And I really like that because for me, that's a really cool alternative to using a reverb. Finally, let's have a listen to how the spaced out compares when we're already using a plugin as a substitute for a reverb. So here we go. We're using the United Plugins Orbitron as a kind of substitute reverb. It's giving us some shifts, some movement, some depth, but in a way that's much tighter and cleaner than you'd get from a reverb. Now, I've already demoed the Orbitron, so I don't want to talk about it too much. If you haven't seen that demo and you fancy having a look at it, there's a link on the screen right now. Let's get into what we're doing with the spaced out. So once again, we started with a preset, spaced out sprinkle. Again, on the balance, yeah, I've moved the balance pretty far in the direction of the echoes. We've got a little bit more reverb than we usually have. We've got about 30% of the reverb or the space on there. I've changed the hazy setting to the wonky tape. I like the way it was kind of chorusing it and shifting it around like that. It was a nice effect. It worked for me. We've got the reverse going on here. That's very cool. I like the fact you can just flip a switch, you get a reverse. If we go over and have a quick look at the space section, because we haven't really talked about that too much, there's a couple of things in here that are very cool. The mellow effect is nicely worked. I like the way you can blend. Here we go. We've got a lot of lush on here, and we can control the length of the sustain at the same time. Or we can come up here and have alien or cosmic, trippy, all these different types of effects. Before we do the side-by-side comparison, let's just have a quick listen to what the spaced out sounds like when it's at full volume. All right, then let's do a side-by-side comparison. So as we did before, we're going to do one rep with just the dry production. Then I'm going to bring in the Orbitron. Then I'll mute the Orbitron and bring in the spaced out. Again, a bit like the guitar, it's a little bit of a 50-50 for me. On one hand, I do like the sense of depth that the spaced out is giving it, and I do really like that kind of tone. It's got a real sort of, yeah, that kind of Tron, kind of sci-fi kind of brassy kind of richness to it. Really nice. I like that a lot. On the other hand, I do like the kind of lift and width that we're getting from the Orbitron. I honestly did not expect to be saying this at the beginning of this demo, but this plugin is by far my most favorite of the Baby Audio plugins that I've tried so far. What Baby Audio have done is they've taken something that should be convoluted and complex, and they've managed to package it in a way that means you open it up and you hit the ground running with it, and immediately you can start using it. And what I really love about it is it gives you a new set of options for creating width, depth, and movement within your productions. As always, you know my advice. Go download it, give it a demo, see if it suits the way you like to work, see if you like the interface, see if it suits the type of productions that you're making. You will not be wasting your time. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to my channel. That would really help me out. Thank you for taking the time. My new single, All the Little Things, is out right now on all streaming platforms. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about this week's episode or any questions about any of my productions, feel free to ask in the comments below, or you can ask me via social media at Tobisonics. Until next Tuesday, good night and good noise. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Mandala seahorses, so kaleidoscopic. Like sunshine's kisses, she makes it better. It's midnight. Slide into that slipper, Barbarella. The wee things. All those little things.